Hey, I'm Steve, one of the founders of Val Town, this website here on the left, which is a website for programmers to create and deploy serverless functions, serverless apps. And I'm talking about how to use Val Town and Fiberplane today. Fiberplane is software to debug and test Hono APIs. And if you're a user of Val Town, you know that we love Hono and we use Hono all the time. And so to explain where Fiberplane comes in, let's imagine you just created a Hono API, a Hono JSON API that you're proud of. So this is a users API that I made. I had Townie make it for me. I have a users table, and then I have a Hono app, and I have two routes, /users to list all the users, and then /users again, but with a post request to create a new user where you give it a name and an email address. So it's a great API. Totally works, totally functional, and you could have a front end somewhere else running on Vercel or wherever you want that interacts with this API. And now let's take a look at it. Isn't that beautiful? 404 not found, and that's because the get request, like the get / isn't anything on here. So if I go to /users and preview that, then I'll see I created one user with an obviously terrible email address. And then, what? I want to create another user. How am I gonna post to this from here? I could open up Postman, and how do I could navigate to the place in Postman to sign up or whatever, but that's going off to another app. I want, from right here where I am, I want to do that. Wouldn't that be neat? And so that's what the folks at Fiberplane have cooked up. It's really awesome, and it just takes a second to install it. So if you head over here to Fiberplane Hono Starter and follow these instructions, so copy over these imports, then this will get you started with a basic Open API spec, but we'll talk more about this later. And then this will mount the Fiberplane UI wherever you want. So I want to mount it at the root, like that. Okay, and now I get in my screen, I'll make this full screen, in my screen, in this window, and also in its own URL, you get this beautiful Postman-like interface, but it's actually in your app. So it's kind of a nice homepage for APIs. So one route is the Open API schema itself, which Fiberplane generated from me based on my Hono code. It did its best to figure out what was going on there. And then here we can do a GET request. Great, we get that one user. Now let's do a POST request. Name Joe. Okay, and then command enter, and it ran it. We got that error, which is cool. See, this error is down here, right there. All right, so email, and this can say Joe at foo.com. Command enter, boom, user created successfully, and then I go to /users and run it, and now I see Joe at foo.com. So pretty neat and really easy to install, but it can get better. So the reason that it's only as good as it is because it can only be as good as your Open API spec is. And Open API specs are really finicky things. You would think, you would think that you could auto-generate it really easily, but it's very hard to do. There's a lot of different ways it can go. And so the proper way to do this, if you actually care about your Open API spec, which is a cool thing to care about because LLMs really like it. It's good for tool use. It's good for generating SDKs like our friends at Stainless do. But anyways, if you need a good Open API spec, it's nice if you can integrate that with your runtime type checking in Zod. And Hono has a wonderful Zod Open API library that does exactly that. So this isn't a Fiberplane specific thing. This is just a Hono library. So you create a route. So this is kind of the same user management thing, but much more specified. We're clearly saying that it's a JSON route, and then we're giving it a schema. Let's see where this new user schema. Yeah, the schema is here. So we're specifying exactly what's valid. So now if I put in an invalid email address, it won't work. And look at these beautiful examples. So all the routes are fully defined, and then the schemas of the routes, and then here is the actual handlers of the routes, and here are the types of them. So now when we generate an Open API spec.json, it's a lot longer and more complicated now, which is good because it generates a much better situation. So for example, post, it's already pre-filled with all the example fields, and you can just hit run. And then, boom, we're good to go. And then it even takes bearer parameters. I think the way this app works is if you specify any bearer parameter, then you can get this super secret thing. Let's take a look. Yeah, cool. So this is really cool stuff, and check it out, and hope you have fun.